Now, just in the nick of time, back with a drink, we've got a great double act coming up here. Two heavyweights of the kitchen industry, I would say. Craig Matson, who's the managing director of a company called Roundhouse. I know Roundhouse well. They're a very well-respected kitchen design and manufacturing company. Several showrooms around London. Manufacturing base in, is it Worcestershire? Worcestershire. Yeah. And Johnny Gray, who describes himself as a designer, an author, an educator, specialising in the kitchen industry. The reason why they're here is because they've established together something called the Kitchen Education Trust, and also have driven forward, along with several other people in the room, I might add, what is now up and running as the kitchen design course degree at Bucks New Uni. And the two of them are passionate about education in the kitchen industry, which is a key part of the furniture industry. So with great pleasure, I hand over to them and I love the title, The Opportunity that's there for us all. It's very positive. So, gentlemen.
I don't think anybody doubts the value of education. The problem with us in this context is there's just not enough access to it. In fact, until very recently, there really wasn't any at all for the kitchen industry. Huge industry, almost no education, with a few honourable exceptions of the KBSA and the work that Rennie Mascari has been doing. And I arrived on the scene partly by accident. Kevin MacLeod and I did some filming together for Grand Designs, and he said, what's going on in the kitchen sector? I'm writing a big attack on it in my new book, 43 Principles of Home. And he said that basically that kitchen design was non-existent, and why should people pay a lot of money for cabinetry when you can buy them for 30 quid each? And what you want to spend your money on is artisanship and good appliances. And I was asked to defend this in the business press, which actually I did in the end, defend his point of view. I thought he had a fair point. And then I got asked to give a speech at Grand Designs about what I thought we could do about this. And Lynn Jones was in the audience, who is going to talk to you later. And I made a speech about how what we basically need is to professionalise the kitchen industry and provide professional design. And when I say design, that covers probably sales, retail, or other aspects of the word as well. And very kindly, Lynn came up to me afterwards and said, look, if you're so clever, why don't you come and write a course with us? And we did, and we had a couple of failures, and in the end, we ended up by doing something which I think is a kind of useful way or by which we can kind of learn a lot for the apprenticeship program. I think we sort of trailblazed to some extent. And what we did was we set up a course that was basically called Blended Learning, which was a new concept for Bucks at the time. And that's a bit like, it's not a correspondence course, it's not really an online course, it's a bit more than that. We have these quite heavy-duty residential weekends, which are well responded to, and we've just about to get our third years together. So Craig is going to talk to you in detail about how we do that. I wanted to just say a few personal things. I'm a designer. Actually, I started off as a kind of architect, but really, I think I was following the footsteps of my frustrated father, who was a doctor and really wanted to be a craftsman. And all of his sons learned how to do carpentry. I started off restoring gypsy wagons, then I made my mum a kitchen. And then finally, with the influence of an aunt who was a food writer, I started realising the value of kitchens. And I think one really special thing about making kitchens is that you can make people's lives better. And increasingly what I've seen since I started is the way the kitchen's moved to a much more, a much bigger story really. It's not just about cabinets and units. It's really, I want to use some words I haven't used before, which I sort of checked out on Wikipedia. Panoptic is one word I like. Libertarian is another. It's going a bit crazy because basically the kitchen is solving the problems for so many aspects of home life. And the most recent one that we're involved in, which is a big initiative, which I think you will probably see will become a story in the next few years, is that increasingly as society ages, we need much more from our kitchens. We need a much more sophisticated design input. And I see this incredible opportunity here with the apprenticeship programme, and I'm particularly interested in content more than anything else, but we have to have more sophisticated delivery of kitchens. There has to be more design. That's why we need more design. So I really look forward to this. I think there's an obvious move for us, although we started up specifically at the top because we wanted a degree course to raise the status for the kitchen design as a profession, just like lighting design has become a profession in the last 10 years. Why can't we? And we can, and we are. But I certainly think now with the appalling increase in student debt, the way the house prices has become an extremely difficult proposition for the generations that we describe as millennials to participate in owning their own house. I think it's inevitable that it's made for success, this apprenticeship programme, I think. And I really hope that we can get really wide support from the industry. We only have 30 students right now, but I'd like to see maybe 200 or 300 apprentices as part of our proposed apprenticeship programme. So I'm going to hand over to Craig, who has become a great friend. We've developed this passion together, and I can't think of a better person to talk about the apprenticeship programme in the kitchen industry.
Thank you very much, Johnny, and everyone, for having me here today. You stole my line about the warm-up act, Johnny, but that's fine. And Gary's already told you what I do, but I'll just give you a little bit more about it. Yeah, I'm the MD of Roundhouse Design. We're a kitchen manufacturer, and we also have 6 showrooms, retail showrooms around London and the home counties. And I tell you that because I'm coming at this from a business point of view, and I hope a lot of people in this room are also doing that sort of taking it from that sort of issue, for that sort of position. And you know, it's a very important point. I'm the chairman of the Kitchen Education Trust. It's a registered charity, and that's the link. We've created this to be the link between industry and education, and you know, we've found that to be a very useful link. You know, the opportunity, and what I'm here to talk about today is really what we're doing in the kitchen industry. You know, how we're approaching education and how we're approaching the opportunity that the new government apprenticeship scheme has given us as an industry. So at present, there's a problem, and it's very limited formal recognised training and education for anyone coming into the kitchen industry. And the access is usually via alternative design streams such as product design, interior architecture, and they come from education and directly from their professions. But actually, more often than not, it's by accident. And that can't be a good thing for an industry which is as big as ours. And it doesn't give us any solid foundation on which, without the education, doesn't give us any solid foundation on which to build and develop the employees in our industry. Now, I'm not saying that the people that are in the industry you know, don't have the right qualifications, but there is an element which there's a little bit of learning on the job. And I think actually, if we want to be taken, and there's an issue with our credibility with the public, and if we want to be taken seriously, we need to sort that out. Now, I can only talk about the kitchen industry, that's what my expertise is, but I suspect this is a wider industry problem, the wider furniture industry problem. And I know for a fact by the Mind the Gap survey that FIRE has done recently, which many of you may know about, that there's a problem with getting people into the industry. So just a little bit background about a little bit more background about me, but there's a reason for it. So I worked for 15 years as an architect, and for the last 20 years I've run Roundhouse. The architectural profession is both highly design orientated and process driven, and is generally admired by the public. The kitchen industry should have similar aspirations. However, at present, it's kind of seen as the used car salesman of the design world. My fear is that we're never going to get out of that position until we have a credible, credible education pathway into the industry. I mean, it is getting better, and certainly over the time that I've been part of the industry, it is getting better. It's certainly in the last 3 to 5 years, but there's still a lot more to do. The industry should be striving to be better coordinated with a higher level of engagement and real commitment to improving the standards in public perception, where we should be aiming to be recognised as innovative, credible, serious and progressive profession. So a little bit about the kitchen industry. Just I need to, for those who don't know about it, and in actual fact, it's interesting. As I said, I'm coming from a business point of view. The talk that Kathy gave earlier, I got so much information out of that, and that's why we should all be here listening to this sort of thing. So just a little bit about the kitchen industry. It's a substantial, as Johnny said, it's a substantial part of the furniture industry. JKMR, an independent business-to-business research consultancy, calculated that the fitted kitchen product market was worth about £6.5 billion to the UK economy. And that equates to about 1.2 million kitchens and a further 700,000 major elements being changed within the kitchen, appliances or furniture fronts. It's made up of about 4,000 retail businesses, whose prime or sole activity is the selling or fitting of kitchen products, furniture and products, and that's a lot of small and medium-sized businesses, because 75% of the kitchen industry is made up of the major DIY and trade retailers like Howdens, Magnet, Travis Perkins and Homebase. So there's an awful lot of people, an awful lot of medium, small-sized companies. So the fitted kitchen product industry, directly or indirectly, employs about 250,000 people in British-based companies. The skill set of such individuals encompass a vast range of activities, including manufacturing, purchasing, logistics, sales and design, customer service, general and specialised installation, merchandising and administration. Right, so we've established that this is a substantial industry with very little opportunity to access the industry directly through education. So 3 years ago, the industry through TCET, which is the Kitchen Education Trust, the KBSA and a number of industry supporters helped set up a foundation degree in kitchen design at Bucks-New University. We have our first cohort that are graduating this year after 3 years, and we're looking forward to that. While it's vitally important to keep this tertiary education within the industry going, now we need to add the education stream above and below the foundation degree, especially below it, because that's going to be the lead into the industry. I would point out that the name of the course is Kitchen Design. However, the students are learning sales and marketing, production, service within the industry, installation, lateral thinking, other related businesses within the kitchen industry, philosophy, psychology, history. It's a whole gambit of it. It's not just about design. It's about learning everything to do with the kitchen industry. So the apprenticeship scheme, as we've heard from candidates from Silent Night, it's in place at the moment, and it's mainly in manufacturing, construction, and technical areas of learning. And we're looking at developing apprenticeship schemes for design, technical, and retail skills. Apprenticeships have traditionally been a combination of work experience and training education, and this combination has worked well for both employer and student. And I should point out that the degree course that we do is based on the same thing, as Johnny said earlier, blended learning. I mean, it doesn't take the traditional system is fantastic, and I went through it and it was brilliant, and loads of parties. That's one of the very good things about going to university and growing up. But the blending of learning while you're on the job and the wider industry is a fantastic way of getting this base foundation. And then that's how that's how the foundation degree works. So employees get someone who understands and specialise in their business. The students receive a solid foundation for understanding the specifics of the particular business they're working for and foundation of the overall industry, which means when they move on for their existing employer, their education understanding is hopefully underpinned by what they have learnt from the wider industry. If this underpinning can be standardised, all employers will have an idea of the level new employers that they are looking at employing. And that's a very important point, and that's why the new apprenticeship scheme is also very important, because it gives us a nationally recognised standard that everyone knows what it means. I mean, there are, and I'll come on to what there are some options, but sorry, this is what I've just said. Employers and apprentices. This is full of very positive information. I won't go through it all, but you can see they're all high percentages. They're all of the things we already know. That employers like it and employees like it. So I'm not going to labour that too much. So just for those of you like me, I mean, I'm not from the education world. I'm from business, and it was interesting, someone was asking about level 3, level 4, and I mean, when I started this education thing, the acronyms just drove me insane. But anyway, I'm getting to grips with them. And the reason why I've put this up is one of the first things we did was looked at a small, medium-sized business and broke it down into what the different employment opportunities were, from starting out to the managing director. And then we peg them to the levels that are available at education level. And just so everyone understands, and I'm sorry if you already know this, but it took me a while to figure it out, was up to level 2 is kind of GCSE, level 3 is GCSE to A level, 4 and 5, which is the foundation degree, is above A level as he's going to university, level 6 is degree level, and 7 is masters. So it's very important to understand that, because people just talk about these numbers all the time, and if you don't know what they mean, you've got no idea what's happening. So we looked at that. We then, I mean, I'm just showing you these as examples of what we're doing and how we're approaching it. And, whether it's relevant to you or not, I don't know. But that's I'm not trying to tell you how. I'll just tell you how we're doing it. We then looked at the level 3, which is the trailblazer that the furniture industry's gone on at the moment, and we broke what we imagined we wanted to see into major headings. They're the 4 headings at the top, and what percentages they might be emphasised within an apprenticeship. We then broke them down into subheadings, and then each of those subheadings had a stage 1 to 3. So 1 is you had to have some knowledge, and 3 was you had all the knowledge. And I mean, the reason why we did this, because we then looked at 4 and 5 and made sure that they linked together, so that we had a full stream from level 3 from GCSE up to masters, although we haven't really looked at masters yet. But that's the reason why we're doing this. Right. Okay, so let's just look at the actual apprenticeship levy itself. I'm amazed at how few people and companies actually know about the levy, and lots of people know about the levy, but they certainly don't know how it works. And to be honest, I'm no expert. As I say, I'm coming at it from what I have been involved in, and as I said, the information that Kathy gave us earlier on, where she is, thank you very much. That's made it a lot clearer. And there's so much information on it. You just need to get it summarised, which is it's fantastic. So I suspect the apprenticeship scheme is the government's way of readdressing the overemphasis which has been placed on degree requirements from a previous government, and what appears to be a subsequent lack of investment in trade training. Now that's my view. You're not going to read that from anyone else, but I suspect that's kind of what's happening here. So as you've already heard, if a company's payroll is over 3 million, it's levied by the government at 0.05%, which probably affects 75% of the kitchen industry, because it's made up of these big players, Howdens and Travis Perkins, etc., that I mentioned earlier. And they'll be wanting to make the most out of the opportunity for their contribution that their contribution will bring. that you, as an industry, have a recognised educational standard which is registered with the government, which is what the level 3 trailblazer that the furniture industry currently has an application that's being looked at. Then we all hope and assume that the trailblazer will be approved. Both those who have and have not paid into the levy will be eligible to have staff educated. For those who have not paid, it's 10% of the cost, with the government paying 90%. And actually, this is kind of superseded by what Cathy said, and she clearly has a much better understanding. My understanding is the government pays 100% of the cost if you've paid into the levy, which can be topped up to 110%. Now, it's not going to take the brains of Britain to figure out that this is a window of opportunity. This is a small window, and this is heavily geared to make people to try and do this. So it's fairly obvious that if this does pick up, and we hope it will, that the level at which the levy kicks in will start to come down, and so will the amount that the government puts into the 90% that they're paying now. That will also come down. Again, this is my view, but it's fairly obvious that's going to happen if this thing takes off. So here we have a window of opportunity to take advantage of. So there's been a lot of press coverage, including 20-page debate about education in the kitchen trade press recently. A couple of references to the new apprenticeship scheme, but including an article from Tony. But it appears that not many companies know or understand the implications. There were a number of articles written suggesting, well, why don't we just do our own thing? Well, that's fair enough. Yeah, you can do that, and that's how it works now. In actual fact, as a company, that's what we do and have to do. And there's one way of dealing with it, but it does not create a national standard, which is the really important thing for the whole industry to understand. Every business has its own methodology, and much of value can be learnt from individual business models. But ultimately, it needs to be a combination of best practice and established standards that go to create a universal standard recognised by the whole industry. And by the way, there's another small point, is that you're self-funding all of it. So, again, this window of opportunity where you can get that big chunk of those businesses that are outside the 75% that are paying the levy. So you're not paying the levy, and you can get the government to pay it. Fantastic. So just the bigger picture. The kitchen industry has a new apprenticeship scheme. With the new apprenticeship scheme, has the potential to create a completely coordinated education system from GCSE level via apprenticeships through to university degree level, a program which partly of which already exists at Bucks New University. And for those who are not paying the levy at a giveaway price. I mean, the other thing I just want to point out is that and I think the gentleman at the back said, what is higher education, what does that all mean? And that was that level thing I was trying to tell you about. The other thing to consider is that the apprenticeship is no longer limited to below degree level. A higher level education is also available as part of the apprenticeship scheme, which includes degrees and master's courses. Tertiary level will need to be applied for in the same way that we're applying for level 3, but that'll be level 4, 5, 6, and 7. And someone in the furniture industry will need to carry that forward. And I know there is a talk of doing that. And we are as an industry, we're very interested in doing that. So, very quickly, summary, great opportunity, window of opportunity, build a foundation, build a stream into an industry which has nothing at the moment. It's a great opportunity, and I for one I'm heavily trying to get the industry, but I suspect if you're in similar industries, trying to get your industry to all talk and think and be motivated at the same time is like herding cats. So, best of luck to everyone. Thank you very much.